It is Rick and we are on the YouTube channel, and today is all about what to do when the seller doesn't accept your cash offer. And if you're not prepared for this moment, you probably just haven't done wholesaling long enough. So I have been in this situation tens of thousands of times, and the key to understand is not to panic. So what I want to do is and dedicate it towards what to do when your cash offer doesn't get accepted. And what you have to first understand is this is a majority of the time. So if you don't prepare for this, not necessarily that it's an objection, but just to understand how do I attack this and how do I turn it into the best positive outcome as possible. That's what we're here to attack today, and that's what I'm going to talk about. And honestly, I'm an expert on the subject because I've been through it so many dang times. What do you do when your cash offer doesn't get accepted? So number one, I want to let you know it's absolutely okay. Honestly, sometimes, like I can't tell you how many times, especially when I started, I pushed and pushed to get an offer and it didn't get accepted and I got really upset about it. And sometimes the world has this weird way of working to help you from your own self. A lot of times a seller will do you a favor by not taking your offer. And I know that sounds crazy, but I can't tell you how many times I was wrong in the beginning and I put in a low offer, they didn't accept it. Somebody else got the offer and that person got stuck with the property for a long time and they did me a huge favor. So number one, it's okay. You're going to get more rejected than you get accepted. So embrace it. Like, don't worry about it. So what you've got to understand is I'm going to give you the dog story. And so I've got a mutt. We love him in the family, but he's been around a long time. But my dog used to go out if you have like a screen patio door and I got a big giant yard, and he would go out there. I let him do his business. And then, not that it gets cold in Florida, but sometimes it's windy and rainy. I'm like, come on in. And the dang dog would not come in no matter how many times I called his name. I would scream. And then I made the mistake of going out and trying to find him in the yard. So a lot of times it was late at night. The dog's dark black, so it was hard to find. So I would hear him and he'd move around and I kept chasing around. Well, sometimes it's going 10, 15 minutes. And any of you who own a dog know how frustrating this is. And I finally, after doing this over and over like an idiot, I decided to just go back through the screen door and just let it shut. And I quickly learned when he heard that screen door shut, my dog knew he was all alone and then panicked and would run back to the door. So what I'm trying to teach you here is if you chase your sellers too hard, even if you are the right fit, you freak them out. Sometimes over pursuing, which is a natural tendency when you start out wholesaling, you make people nervous, and you've got to be aware of this. They always tell you, always got to be closing. It's the complete opposite in wholesaling. You actually have to act a bit uninterested, and you definitely have to be separated from the outcome if they accept your contract. And most of you in the beginning are so eager to get your deals accepted, your anxiety builds up and you send a vibe to your seller and you can freak them out. Let me ask you this. Have you ever wanted to buy something so bad and you wanted it and you just got super aggressive? You can freak people out to the point they go either I'm not charging you enough or I'm missing something or I got this thing so lowly priced I screwed up. And so you start creating this doubt when you chase them. So think of the dog story when you first deal with people, because it makes a tremendous difference. And this is a skill that has to be learned. Remember, you're not going to force anyone to sell you a house. So once you get over that, stop chasing them. Rule number one, if you don't chase, there is no chase to engage. I just dealt with a deal, literally. I've been chasing on a commercial project for quite a few months. And you know what? It just, the negotiations got ridiculous. Now, I use realtors and brokers for the whole thing, but I just said, hey, that's the best we can do. And we walked away. I was threatened with multiple backup offers, all this stuff. I said, God bless you. I told the realtor to walk away. 2 weeks goes by. Guess what? Hey, Mr. Rick, we want to talk. Can we reopen the negotiations? Guess who's in control when that happens? Why? Because you stop chasing, things happen for you. When you chase, they always think they can get more and they're going to keep pulling from you. So understand that. So how do I stop chasing? The first thing you have to understand is you have to understand the art of detachment. And this is a skill set that it's a lost art. And here's what I mean by it is you have to make an offer. There's a limit in what you can make the offer. And if they don't accept your offer, you have to be okay with it and you have to move on. You're going to have a good day no matter what, if they take the offer or not. And if you can accept that, your business will explode. Because if you're dependent on it, It means you're going to do whatever you can to make that offer stick, and you're not going to stick to your rules of wholesaling, whatever your numbers were, and you're going to get yourself in trouble really quick. So learning the art of detachment. Remember, you and only you have the choice to be happy. And if you're going to let the outcome of a contract dictate how the rest of your day is going to go, your business, the rest of your work week, or your day, you're going to be in trouble in this business. We already know most people are going to not cooperate, meaning they're not going to accept our offer, and I'm okay with that. But the minute you decide, I have to have this offer or my business is doomed, you're done. You see, people can sense if you're attached to something, and people can sense when you're not attached to something. And when you're not attached to something, it just feels better in this entire world. And I don't know how else to tell you that. It's just the truth. So the art of detachment. The reality is it's okay to have emotions when you put out a contract and you have to wait for a response. But once you put it out there, leave your lines open, leave your communications open, and walk away and go to the next deal. And if it works, then that's great. But so many times you guys get so upset if you get a maybe or like, I don't know, or like, but today we're talking about when your cash offer gets rejected. So let's kind of keep moving forward. Now, before you get into any of this, I want you to understand this is you got to have an upfront agreement with these people. And if you don't know what the upfront agreement is, go over to freewholesaling.com. I go into grave detail on this, but basically you're saying, listen, no matter what, seller, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to listen to you. And at the end of this, either we're going to do business or we're going to be friends. But either way, I want to help you out. But you got to make a decision. And your decision is yes to work with Rick. Great. If it's no, I can handle it. Just give me a hard no. Can we agree to have a decision by the outcome of this meeting? Yes. That's it. If you don't do that, you wind up in maybe land or let me think it over land, and you'll never get out of it. Now, that doesn't guarantee someone still won't make a decision. And that's what we're here to talk about today. But now we're talking about when they actually flat out just won't agree to your cash offer. But the upfront agreement, guys, it will eliminate so many of your problems. And a lot of you are scared to have it. And I'm telling you, by not having that conversation, you just create more anxiety and you create a pain on the back end. And the pain is mostly on you. Trust me, I've been there. I know this better than anybody. Now, here's the reality. The reality is when somebody rejects your offer, sometimes it's not just about the number. I want you to think about that. So many times, you've got to understand, most people, when we're dealing with them, when they're selling their home, it is usually one of their biggest decisions in their life. And when people have to make big decisions, they want reassurance. And if you don't give them that reassurance, they're going to seek it from lawyers, realtors, title companies, neighbors, friends, and family. Your job is to try to reassure them the best as possible they're making the right decision. Now, sometimes it's not just price, and that's what you have to understand. So the first thing we have to understand is, why is my offer being rejected? And if you can get to the core of this answer, you'll know exactly which way to attack to try to save your deal. Now, you have to understand this. Well, Rick, they just said no to my offer. No. They're saying no to something. So if you look back, always just so when it hits there, the first thing you want to do is go back to, where did this deal come from? What lead source did it come from? Did it come from code violations? Did it come from tax delinquency? And that will help you a little bit with the root of the problem. Now, if they're one from the government list, often foreclosures, tax delinquencies, code violations, people are big time procrastinators. That's what they do. And it's common to have this. And by the way, one of the biggest fixes I have is just have a constant line of communication with these people till you get to a decision. You can't have too many conversations with someone, but if you have a huge gap between your conversations, you can have a lot of issues. So you have to understand, why are they rejecting it? Sometimes the reality is, most of you go, Rick, it's just price. They don't like my price and that's it. Before you start attacking price and everything else, go back to the fundamental root. And here's what I say. Mr. Seller, you said you wanted to sell the house by this date and you just need to get out from it. We talked about a number. I made an offer based on the numbers you gave me. What did I miss? And so the idea is sometimes it's not even the number. And so many of you guys attack number right off the bat. Now, I will tell you this. If it's just price and that seller is only focused on getting a certain number, which there's certain sellers that are like that, I'm just going to give you the truth of this business. Nobody tells you, you're not getting that deal. Because to get the highest price possible, you got to go in the realtor world, you got to go in the retail world, and you will not make it in wholesaling by trying to get those people. Those are people that want to sell their house, they don't need to sell their house. And the sooner you understand that, there's not much you can do for that one other than go up in your price. But if you're already at your close to your MAO, what's the point? You're going to have to move on, give them some time, and you can put them in a follow-up. Don't sit here and spend your energy on people that want to sell their house because they're just going to take the highest bidder. And even if you put them under contract, most likely they're going to backdoor you on a contract. Yes, it's incorrect. It is a defensible defense in the court of law. But the reality is, I've never sued a homeowner. And you'd have to do something really bad to have me do that. But like, if you deal with enough people, that's just a waste of time and resources. So if it's just price and all it is price and there's nothing else, odds are they are not going to be your seller. They are not. It's just not going to work. They need to go see a realtor. That's it. And if you accept that, move on. Because you can't waste energy trying to force people to sell you a house because it's never going to work. If it's just price and we're trying to get the lowest price available, you understand the conflict there. Don't waste your time on that. But I'm here to tell you, often it's not just price. Here's the next one. You ready? Is it you? I can tell you, man, sometimes you can rub a seller the wrong way. And when I say it's you, don't take it personally. But sometimes if we're new to the business and we're very sometimes you just get jacked up. So it might be your first appointment. You get super excited. Maybe you got ADHD like me, and your energy makes the seller nervous. And they said, listen, I got to sell this house. I'm getting liens on it and everything like that. But they're just not confident in your ability to buy it. And honestly, I've had this happen to me before. It's definitely happened to Zach. And a lot of you on the stream, you can absolutely relate to it because a lot of you are like, oh my God, is it me? I've never bought a house before. You have to exude confidence, but sometimes we lean the wrong way. So I'm an ADHD guy. I'm a high energy guy. And some mellow, calm down people, like they get freaked out with my energy, and I get it. So remember, it's your job to mirror your seller, not the other way around. So you have to match them. And sometimes we screw up, and it's okay. And so the key is, if you kind of know it's you, I'm going to give you the tricks to fix it, because this is kind of the easier part of the deal, and I want you to understand this. So guys, I'm going to get to your questions. I'm working a little slow today because I got my specs on it. So if it's you, here's a technique I use. Just get personal, because you got to bring them back. The number one thing a motivated seller wants to do is solve a problem. They want certainty. They want to get the house sold. The only skill set you can really reassure them is that it's going to get done. And how do you do that? You get personal with them. I go back to and remind them, hey, what was your goal? And I always want a goal, an outcome with a seller. They say, hey, I want to get rid of this house by this month so I can get on with my life. I can live with my family and take care of dad or whatever. That's where you get personal and you focus on that. That's it. Because a lot of times they're just scared. They're procrastinating. It's a huge decision, but they know it needs to be done. Remember, I always talk about you being the guide and walking them through this decision matter. You never can force them, but you can guide them. And I have met so many sellers that are so scared to make a decision because it seems so final, but they know if they don't make a decision, they can't get out of the current environment they're in. And our job is to guide them through it. And if you can show that confidence through guiding them through it, and get personal with it, here's the truth. Most sellers we deal with, motivated sellers, they make emotional decisions. That's why they're in the position they are. It's our job to be responsible and help guide them through their options on how we can help fix this problem for it. And if you can do that in a reassuring manner, engage them with their eyes, get them to laugh, and really have a conversation and build a massive amount of rapport, there's no reason you can't do exactly what I do. And this is what I do every time someone says, hey, Rick, I can't take your offer. It's just not going to work out. I've had people say, hey, Rick, they take the offer and they sign and they still make that crazy phone call, and it drives me crazy. The next one, your terms. They don't like your terms. Well, Rick, you said you're going to buy it 4 months out. I get it. You're trying to get the longest terms possible, but sometimes it doesn't agree with them. And you got to go back and find out what their terms are. So many times as investors, we put in the terms that we want, and you've got to understand you have to take in consideration what your seller wants, because your offer should be catered around what they want, especially if you're getting a great price. And here's what I always say. I'm not living in your home, and I want you to close on the date of your choice at your convenience. And so many times they go, well, I'll close it in 30 days or I'll close it in 90 days. That's too long. That's too short. Remember, focus on what your seller needs. And this is a great time to reiterate and go back to them and say, listen, I understand you're hesitant with my cash offer. And I try, is it the terms? Is it me? Is it the price? What is it? Now, price is always a little bit of a combination, but if it's pure price, I'm just telling you, don't waste your time. It's not going to work. The only thing that cures price is time, period. You got to let people soak in that property and go through like retail hell of a realtor. And even then, it's not the easiest thing in the world. So look at your terms and see if it matches to your sellers and make adjustments for them. Tell them, I want to work with you and help you out with it. So, and I want you to understand this. You've got to engage your team. So here's the most common thing we deal with. A lot of times don't take your offer because maybe you just have no experience doing it. That's fine. So remember, I teach you how to build your team. You don't know how to just go to freewholesaling.com. Is you want to use your title company. You want to use everybody on your team to help you out. So a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know if this is a scam or not. How do I know you're legit? Now I'm here to tell you this thing where people do websites, you can put all your testimonials up there. I've been doing this a long time. Nobody cares about that. My recommendation, if you want to get credibility for social content, the easiest thing is simple YouTube videos, do seller testimonials, or just do a video, a 1 or 2 minute infomercial, what you do, and just post some stuff on like some appointments you go on and stuff like that. So they kind of know, hey, they're for real. And number 2 is just a simple Facebook page. Why? Because it's simple. People can search it. It doesn't cost you any money. Don't do any of these SEO, these paid per click stuff like that. And honestly, don't build a website just to promote your company, because sellers don't care. I've probably had 30 websites. I've gotten rid of every one of them, because just have one singular place where people can go, and that's all they want to do. The best credentials you can get outside of you is third-party endorsement, and it's your title company. So when people are uncomfortable with me, and it happens all the time, and there will be with you, tell them to meet you over at your title company and get your title rep to help explain what a credible, great person you are, how you're using a third party that's licensed and insured, and they will handle the financials and they will handle the title. And we're going to do this all legal and above board. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the title company, because we're here to serve you. So many times I took my sellers to a title company. It's like everything, because now they're reassured with what you're doing. And now you just got to get down to the final number. Now, the reality is, sometimes, let me put this on here, you got to step it up. So when we deal with people with procrastination on, tax delinquencies, foreclosures, code violations, is make it personable. Do something to help them. And we're in a much more different society. In the old days, I used to pick people up for closings. I suggest you now use Uber or Lyft. You can do some stuff virtually. I now have a preset list of local moving companies to help them out. Sometimes I'll give them a credit or towards the moving company. You got to know what your risk tolerance is to do this. You never ever pay directly for any of these because you don't want to be liable, but you can give a credit on their closing to help with the mover, and the mover does the day of the closing, so it's all funded right there. But just get personal and help them out. I don't want you helping moving. I don't want you to be liable. I don't want you to give people rides like I used to. I used to have to do some crazy stuff to get people to closings. But today we are in a world where you have to do some special offerings sometimes to help people out, to get them through it. I've brought lunch. I've brought dinner. I've done everything I humanly possibly could to get people to a closing. But be very aware of your liability if you're going to do any of that stuff. And anytime you can outsource it to another party, it's going to protect you somewhat. So just be careful with that. And you know what the reality is, guys? Is sometimes your deals they get rejected. Now, if you've gone through all these steps to save the deal, and so here's key number 1. If at all possible, meet with your seller in person to discuss why they're not taking your offer. Why? Visual clues are so much better than they are on the phone, but on the phone, you just have to listen twice as hard, and you got to listen for inflections in their voice. And the sooner that time frame you can connect with them, the better. The more time that goes through, your deal just falls apart naturally. So usually within 24 hours, a maximum 48 hours, that is your time to save any deal. And a lot of times you just got to walk them through, just like you're a guide, and walk through why you guys met, what they wanted to accomplish, and what you offered to accomplish it, and guide them through the process and get the seller out of their own way. That is what I am absolutely best in. And that's what I've always taught you. This is what I taught Zach. These are the exact skill sets that we both share. I mean, we are blood, but like he's spent so much time with me, and he has this stuff naturally built into him. He takes it a step further than me. You guys know he's really good, and I love him for that. But I just want you to understand, okay, Rick, if it still gets rejected, here's the best part. You are not going to chase like a rabid dog, because it's going to make it worse. Let a little bit of time go by, and then have a reason to call your seller back. Now, here's a technique I've done that for you to call the seller back in like 3 days or a week and go, Mr. Seller, have you changed your mind on that offer? It's terrible. It's so transparent and it doesn't look good. Now, sometimes that property will go under contract with another wholesaler or like a realtor or something like that. And honestly, I get super excited when that happens, because if I had to put in a low offer because that's what the numbers were, and somebody overpays for it, the odds of them being able to convert that property and make money with it are slim to none. So when that contract expires in 30 or 45 days, it's much easier for me to slide in, and then they could have that coming to Jesus meeting a lot easier. Because if someone lies to them, gets them a number, and they can't fulfill it, and then I'm still right here being consistent, and here's what I tell them: I was honest with you and I was fair with you. They will come back to you so much harder. So here's the key: is you got to let time go by. I am not a proponent of calling somebody every day to see if they're going to take my offer. Now, here's the technique. Instead of saying, hey, Colin, you're going to reconsider my offer, call for some other random thing. Hey, John, I'm calling you. I forgot to ask you, is that pool, is it salt water or fresh water in the back? I was just curious, because I'm considering possibly doing that with another one of my properties, or my wife wants to do with mine, and you seem like to be the expert on it. Boom. Because I remember John spent a lot of time discussing that pool. He spent 40 minutes, and I've had a customer do this to me before, and I listened to him. He's very passionate about the pool, and he wants me to understand it. So what do? I engage what's very personal to him. Instead of, hey, John, did you reconsider my offer? I just call him. Hey, John, hey, I got a quick question about the pool. John gets excited, starts talking to me, and then he's like, it's Rick. Then I can ask, what did you ever wind up doing with the property? The key is here, I didn't ask if you reconsider my offer. And either they have it listed with somebody else and it's failing, or they haven't made a final decision. And sometimes, hey, John, would you sit down with a cup of coffee with me? And, I'm open to discussing this to see how we can bridge the gap. And it's simple like that. You guys who call and just say, hey, listen, if you reconsider my offer or something like that, you can't do it. You've got to have what I call like a step conversation. Have something that relinks you together, that makes them super excited, get them passionate and talking and conversing with you. Then you go back and you address the property. Because when you hit them right off the bat, they're going to be in the defense mode, and you're most likely going to get a negative answer. So 2 things that can change an offer without you: it's time and circumstance. And it's okay. I've had people come back years later, change their mind and get it done. Just as long as you understand that is going to be the key. Guys, people reject our offers all the time. And if you understand that going into it, it's not a big deal. And I want you to understand, the next time your offer gets rejected, just connect with them, try to meet with them in person if it's possible. I know some of you guys do it virtually, and we do it too. There's something about people do not like to reject you in person. They don't. So I know if I go in person, I increase my odds by 50%. So if you're doing a local market and you're doing that, just take your time and listen. If it's solely price, odds are it probably wasn't a great wholesale to begin with. If it's price and a combination of things, work through the combination of things and try to make them, try to make it more workable for your client. And then if it's just you, use your third parties, AKA your title company, even if you work with a lawyer or something like that, and just have them let you know, hey, listen, Rick's confident, he's assurance. Guys, I used third party on one of my deal 2 and 3 when I got started out in wholesaling back in 2003-4, because I got called to the table. I had no idea what I was doing. Remember, our job is to find motivated sellers, track them, give them creative offers, and get the best price under contract. And then we move forward and sort it out. And so many people try to figure out this entire business from head to toe. My favorite one is to go, hey, Rick, I almost get this on a daily basis. I know a lot of people. I'm talking about people outside of the wholesaling business. They go, Rick, I found a list of foreclosures. Can you give them to me and then we can split the deals? And I have always one simple question. Did you talk to them? If you didn't talk to them, you're not bringing any value to the table, because I can get those lists from anywhere. The value is always in connecting with home sellers and just being a great listener. And if you can be a great listener, you can strike up a great conversation, and a great conversation usually turns into a great wholesale deal. And nobody wants to take the time to do this anymore. And that's why we have so many problems wholesaling. We try to run people over. And at the end of the day, wholesaling is nothing more than a people business. The real estate is just a side effect of human problems. That's all it is. That's why I like it so much. Real estate's just the math. And once you figure the math out, you got to deal with the human emotions and how can I help you get to the spot you want to get. And that's all we do. We are going to get rejected. And the sooner you can get past that, the better you're going to do. We come up with a society where everything's supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to get an A on this, and everyone's supposed to say yes. And that's not the reality of the world we live in. So if you want to get stuck in the matrix and do that, be my guest. You're not going to get anywhere doing that. So I'm okay if people are going to make quotes about me and, hey, Rick, he teaches this wholesaling where they lowball. I do. Because that's how the business is run. Period. End of story. And if the truth hurts certain types of people in society, then so be it. I'm here. I'm dedicated for wholesalers, and that's what we do. And I'm never going to change.